Hello, everyone. It is December 1st, 2019. So, first of all, I want to start off by apologizing. I wasn't in the best condition last week to record. There were a number of things that happened as far as my own like voice and everything. And it's really important, though, that with your voice, you take care of it. And especially doing YouTube videos, that's doubly important because you're all here to listen to my hopefully lovely, lovely voice. We'll see. So I'm going to combine last week, November 24th, and this week, December 1st, both of those episodes into one. And this is going to be like a mega update type of thing as far as like what's been going on the past 2 weeks. So, with that, let's jump right into it. From what I've been doing, I've been playing more Pokemon. Went to go see Ford v Ferrari, which was awesome. I would highly recommend anyone go see it, whether or not you like car movies. I think it's actually very funny. It's very touching, and there's a lot of really, really, really good parts to it. I did start playing WoW again, because I'm awful like that. And there's actually the big reason is that there's a anniversary event going on, and I want the Deathwing mount. It's awesome. Then obviously been playing some more Star Wars, getting ready for the new movie. Really excited for that. Everything's been coming out for that, and it's just like, oh my god, it's coming up soon. Then more Diablo 3 with the new season starting, which has been really incredible. I've got my full set done. I kind of want to do some more and really see how far I can push myself this season. So we'll see. And then I've also I picked up Modern Warfare yesterday, or no, Friday, on Black Friday. Duh, today's Sunday, and that's actually I've been playing the campaign on that, and the campaign is actually quite excellent. So that's kind of where I've been at. Besides that, been doing some Thanksgiving stuff with friends and family this week, and that's been actually really nice. I was never really a super huge fan of Thanksgiving, but I think as I get older, I like it more. And there's been a lot to it that's been actually really a lot better about that. So that's been really good. But let's get down to some news. So I'm going to cover 7 news stories from the past 2 weeks. And then there's one more that I'm going to cover at the very, 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 very end after I get everything else done that has some content warnings to it. So be warned if you don't want to stick around for that one. I totally understand. And as usual, I will be putting all of these in the video description below, so feel free to check them out there too. So top of the order is, last week, Chick-fil-A decided that they will cease donations criticized by LGBTQ activists after years of backlash. So the donations in question are no longer donate to the Fellowship of Christian Athletes or the Salvation Army. Both of them have had very openly homophobic and transphobic policies in the past, where people have effectively said, if you donate to these people, we will not recognize, or we will no longer shop at your business. And there's kind of a couple things here on this. They had multi-year commitments, which actually ended last year. So, it's good that they said that they're not going to. Are they going to actually continue to do that? Or are they actually going to keep to those words? We don't know. Time will tell. They did say that in 2020, they have committed $9 million to 3 initiatives: education, homelessness, and hunger. Now, the question boils down from those 3 initiatives, what are the organizations they're going to pick? Because if they drop, say, Salvation Army and go to another organization that's equally homophobic and equally transphobic and equally problematic, it's not really doing much good besides just doing a publicity stunt. But to the other side of this too, you also have to ask yourself, and you have to question kind of, at what point is, okay, you did something, or at what point do you basically step down and say, you know what, enough is enough. We just don't care about you anymore. You're no longer relevant. Like, you've been so awful and so bad for years and years and years and years. Just leave. Just stop. And that's kind of where I am with Chick-fil-A. Like, they've been so terrible for so long. It's just like, there's really, like, yeah, I'm glad that they're stopping this because it's good, and these organizations need to like understand and learn that this is not a stance you can take, especially a financial one. But at the same point in time, at what point do we just collectively as a populace say, listen, enough, like enough. This isn't what we want. This isn't how we want to operate. So there's certainly that question there, and there's like that's kind of the question that we all have to ask ourselves is what level and what point do we say enough is enough, or like we kind of got to put up and shut up and be like, okay, you changed, now we'll start eating at your restaurant again. Though I don't see that happening. There's a lot better places for chicken out there, in my opinion. Like, I love Raising Cane's, and they're great, and I think they're way better, and they're not homophobic. So there's that. Yeah, so kind of an interesting situation there. But it's going to be definitely one of those things where collectively we have to make that decision, and we have to kind of come to those terms and agree on it, or it's just own your own individual choice on that one, and that's kind of where it is. So the next thing is Kansas City voted to ban conversion therapy for LGBTQ minors, the second Missouri city to do so. This is actually really, really big, and I think people kind of don't understand how big this is. So, to give you a quick backstory on what conversion therapy is it's a I hesitate to say a version of therapy. Effectively, it's brainwashing a child who self-identifies as LGBTQ to say, you are no longer LGBTQ, and instead you are, cis, het, whatever. And because a lot of parents and people feel that that is an obligation that they have, that they can force their beliefs and their constraints upon their children, which you absolutely cannot. You can't go to your child and say, look, you need to vote for this person, or you need to be this way, or you need to marry this person, because that's abuse. That is textbook abuse. And to believe otherwise is wrong. So the fact that Kansas City went through and banned this is absolutely incredible. There have been a number of organizations, from private practice individuals to churches to research groups, that have gone through and say that this is the way we operate because we don't accept you living your life as whatever, for whatever reason. A lot of people specifically say that we don't accept you living your life in a life of sin, and my response to that is, if you're not sinning, are you really living? Just saying. But the important thing here is the American Psychiatric Association and the American Psychological Association have deemed these sorts of practices non-scientific based and lacking any sort of critical evidence that it actually works, and it can increase negative reactionary behaviors such as self-harm and, yes, even the absolute worst outcome. So this committee that voted to ban it heard arguments on both sides of the argument, and they ultimately said, we're going to go with the science on this one. We're going to go with what medical professionals have said is the right way to approach this. So it's kind of awesome. And the fact that they're doing it, good job, Kansas City. Keep up the good work. Next, on a lighter note, so when I was a kid, first of all, I love anime, I love cartoons, and I love giant robots. Just going to throw that out there. So something is coming back from when I was a child, and it makes me incredibly excited. It's coming back with not only an anime, but new model kits, and even a video game on the Nintendo Switch. Yes, that's right, I'm talking about Zoids. Zoids, for those of you who don't know, is a old anime series in which effectively you had teams of people who would fight in giant robots that looked like animals. My liger is not in the room. I'm not gonna go get it, so you don't have to deal with 30 seconds of just this. But the basic idea behind Zoids is that there's tournaments. There was actually, my favorite one was the race arc, where all these different teams lined up and they got into these like vehicles and had to race each other, and they were like fighting on a race and everything, and it was really cool because then they clash and battle and all that kind of stuff. So the new series will be called Zoids Wild. We don't know necessarily much. I didn't necessarily look up the videos for that, so while there is stuff out there, I didn't watch the unveiling. It was also only unveiled in Japan. So while there might be translations out there and things that have happened within the past week since then, I've only been paying attention to it this week, or that last week, and I haven't looked much on it this week. It's been kind of busy for reasons previously mentioned, and with the holidays. So that's out there. The kits are actually really cool. I like to build model kits. I don't know, it's hard to tell because these are kind of put off to the side, but I really like Gundam model kits. This is a Tall Geese, one of my favorite suits. So that's really cool that they're actually making these model kits again. They're priced at what looks to be a pretty reasonable price point of $30, though I'm not entirely sure how I feel about the mobile aspects to them, but we'll see. I do know that they are going to go the route of the Gundam kits, the more recent Gundam kits, the real grade ones where they have an interior skeleton, and they're, I want to say they were said to be roughly 1/144 in scale, which is really cool. But yeah, I'm really excited about that. And most importantly, the Switch game. I absolutely love playing my Switch, and I think seeing Zoids on the console is going to be a huge boost to the communities and people who play the Switch. Also a huge boost to Zoids. So that's always super positive news for me. I love it. Let's keep more of it. So that was like effectively 3 of the news articles from the previous week. There's still one from that week that I want to talk about, but that's the one that's going to happen after everything else. So that way you can kind of get into a mood of, do I want to hear about this? Do I not? And you can always bookmark the video at a point in time where I say, hey, by the way, this is going to be a potentially triggering part, so you can watch it later so you can think on it. Now, let's get into news from this week. So this week, obviously, there was Thanksgiving, and there was Black Friday, and I know that there's a lot of discussions around Thanksgiving and Black Friday, and I will actually be talking about that a little bit later in the video because it's not part of the news, but it did happen, so I want to say that as this next article directly deals with Black Friday, and that is JCPenney. JCPenney this year decided that they wanted to be shit gibbons. Yes, shit gibbons. And what they said, they came out and they said, we're going to open our stores at 2 p.m. on Thursday. That's ridiculous. So for those of you who are not in America or somehow managed to live under a rock for the past ever, JCPenney is a big box department store. Not like Walmart, but like more like your traditional like Sears and kind of stuff. Basically, it's a retailer. They attach themselves onto malls. Sometimes they're standalone. Very rarely, though. But the reason why this is so big is because they actually have the power to do this and make those decisions, even in cases where the mall says, we're not going to be opening until, maybe Friday, hopefully, or late Thursday. And a lot of stores open at 5 or 6 that day, but JCPenney said, no, we're opening at 2 to start the savings early, which is not okay. Now, I do want to preface all of this with saying I used to go out shopping on Thursday. I used to always go out after dinner, but my family always ate early, so it was never a problem, and I actually used to work Black Friday for a number of years, including Thanksgiving, and while I definitely did see the problem with it, it was one of those things I kind of just for myself just overlooked, and that's not how I'm going to be operating anymore. I did not do that this year, so I did go out on Friday, but I think going out on Friday is okay. I know there's a lot of people stuck at work, and it's obviously whatever, and there's conversations and stuff there, but I'm no longer going out on Thursday, which. So that's kind of me turning over a new leaf and kind of going through and saying I'm no longer going to be doing this. So there's that. That's really good. But it was also too a lot of my past where Thanksgiving dinner was always eaten around noon or 1, and so I could do that. However, like I said, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just trying to be a little bit of a better person. Try and stick to my guns on self-improvement and all that. So. Um, so while I fully admit that I used to do stuff like that, I will not be doing it anymore, and that relates to this. I don't know how. I think because they're open on Thursday. At any rate, a little bit of a self-divulgence there, personal growth and all that. But JCPenney said that 2 p.m. Um, it means a 2 p.m. opening. Most employees need to be getting there around 1 p.m. To be able to get to work, get there, have the or getting ready, I should say. That means that in order to have dinner and fully eat a full course meal, like say you were at your family's house, say you worked at JCPenney, and you were at your family's house for dinner, and you went out and you said, okay, I have to be to work at 2, but I still want to have dinner. That means dinner would need to be at 11 a.m. in order for you to get out there, sit down, have dinner with your family, do whatever the after dinner ritual that everyone has is, because no one wants to move. And don't tell me that you want to move, because I know that that's not true, because no one wants to move after Thanksgiving dinner. And you need to leave by 1 p.m. That gives you roughly 2 hours to eat, be with your family and or friends, and leave to get to work at 2. That's not dinner. That's barely brunch. So that's really not cool. That's not okay. There's a lot of problems with that, and I don't know how it turned out. I haven't necessarily followed up on JCPenney's amount of sales or anything like that, but I do know that based on my social media, there was a number of people who said they will not be shopping at JCPenney and not be this year or actually in years to come. I have not shopped there in a long time personally, and that's more for reasons of I don't fit their clothes and it's all kind of expensive and I don't really like the way that they do business anyway. So that's kind of how I feel about that. But yeah, I really hope this isn't going to be a trend for future years, because this is not something that needs to be happening. Pretty soon we're just going to see ourselves as, well, stores just open on Thursday, have fun, go shopping, no one gets a day off, which is not okay. So yeah, let's not make this into a trend. Let's be better than this. And I know I am not one to talk, especially since I'm only a recent convert, but maybe collectively we can stop. Hopefully. Keep the shopping to Friday. So the next one is actually kind of a big one and important one to me. As I discussed last week or 2 weeks ago, I play hockey, and one of the things that I also did this week was played a bunch of hockey, which is good. But there was an all transgender hockey team that started and had their first tournament game thing in November of this year. It's people from all parts of the gender spectrum, from male to female, female to male, or just non-binary individuals. And the overwhelming thing behind it is it has been they have basically come together and become a family for each other, and it's very life-changing, and that's awesome. It's really really sweet, and I actually kind of hope that maybe if they have room for a skater, I could join them even just for a scrimmage or something. That'd be really fun. You know, I know that some of the players on there range from people who literally started skating for the first time in October to professionals. And so it's really cool when they can all come together and play together under the love for the sport and, loving and acceptance. They partnered with an organization called Boston Pride, a all LGBTQ Hockey Plus organization that not only played host to their scrimmage, but they also were able to fund the jerseys, and they were able to fund. They paid for the ice time too, which is amazing. And so the article I'm going to link has a few bios and profiles of some of the people, and it's really cool. It's really awesome to see this, because it's kind of, I shouldn't say the same, but similar to some of the situations I find myself in within my local hockey community, of just love and acceptance of saying, you know what, we know that, you're no different than anyone else, and so we appreciate you being here. So that's awesome. I really, really like that. I really like the idea that is something that they're putting forward. They're putting toward, and something that they're doing for these to kind of bring themselves together and make it like a family. That's awesome. And a lot of people, they said they're doing they're doing more games, they're doing more stuff. They said they already have two more events planned, which is awesome. I'm excited. Oh, sorry. It appears the article I have doesn't actually list profiles of some of the players, but I do know you can find them online. But it's awesome. It's really cool, and I sad to say that my experience has not been the same as theirs. Um, I do know that in some other places it's not as accepting, and maybe it's just I'm lucky, and my local community is all adult co-ed stuff, and it's very open and inclusive, and really people don't care. It's there's your attitude on the ice, and then there's as long as you're not a shitty person and rude and you know start causing shit, no one's really gonna draw fuss, which I actually like about my local community. And for those of you who are in my local community who are watching this, thank you so much for making it so awesome and amazing. I totally plan on sticking around. Thank you. So I got two more for this week. And one's actually kind of big. I'm gonna take a drink really quick. Sorry, like I said, gotta take care of my voice and kind of wake up too. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, and so I woke up early, took a nap, got myself re-rested. Now I'm just waking up again for the rest of the day. Now, Star Wars, Billy D. Williams uses both male and female pronouns. They came out this week. I don't know. This is where I draw a very difficult distinction for me, because I am not gender fluid. I do know people who are. I did identify as non-binary for a while, and so I don't want to be disrespectful, which is why I tend to use they and them. But once someone corrects me, I will definitely switch. So if I am referring to them in a manner which you do not find appropriate, please let me know, and I can talk to you about that, and we can have that conversation. So, to further this news article, though, Billy D. Williams, who famously played Lando Calrissian in Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back and Star Wars: Return of the Jedi. First of all, I love Lando. I think Lando was a hysterical character, absolutely amazing, super fun, and I'm really excited, that we got to see him in the Han Solo movie, which was super cool. And I think that the younger actor that they got to play him did a fantastic job. But Billy D. Williams basically came out recently as gender fluid. Why this is such a big deal and I think newsworthy is because we don't really have a ton of super high profile celebrities that are gender fluid. And not only that, but he was a Star Wars character, or they were a Star Wars character, or she was a Star Wars character. Reading the article, it says they refer to themselves as himself and herself. See myself as feminine as well as masculine. I'm a very soft person. I'm not afraid to show that side of myself. Congratulations. I really, really, really appreciate this. I really am glad that they're able to be out and be able to live as themselves and be accepted. And I think it was really important that Donald Glover portrayed Lando in Solo: A Star Wars Story. My bad. I should have known that. And then Billy D. Williams is reprising the role of Lando in The Rise of Skywalker. So that'd be really cool to see them in this, in the new movie. I do think, though, that it's very important that people see this and people hear about this, because they are such a very high-profile celebrity. And I do think it's important to understand that gender fluidity is a very real thing, and it's not something that, unfortunately, a lot of people still associate with being, well, this is fake, this isn't real. And it's terrible that that's the case, but it's not necessarily a great world we live in currently, and really we should hope to change. We should hope that changes, and things like this only help to to change it and to make it better for people of all walks of life and um, any sort of gender identity and gender expression. And uh, this is really cool. This is really awesome, and I don't know. I'm glad that it came out to the public eye. Sadly, I don't know if the uh, this is due to the fact that they said that I need to be out there and to be a voice for people, or if this is because of the new Star Wars movie that they're making a reprisal in. I don't know. I can't make that call or that decision here. But it's awesome. I'm really happy for them, and I really hope that we get to see more of this. So the article I do link does talk a bit more about the movie than Billy D. Williams, but still really cool, really important, something really good to share. Finally, a bit of not so great news. It also has to align with Thanksgiving. In Utah, a student was in a classroom in which a substitute teacher asked children what they were thankful for on Thanksgiving. And one young child said that he was thankful for his two dads who had recently adopted him. This child went through the foster care system and was actually in process of finding a forever home and a family that loved him and was going to accept him, when the teacher decided that was a very appropriate minute, or a very appropriate time to take 30 like 8 to 10-year-old children and basically yell at them and saying homosexuality is wrong, and two men living together is a sin, and start going off on her own views and saying how that's not okay, and that's not okay. Like, what the teacher did was not okay, but not what the dads are doing. The dads are doing something amazing and happy, and I'm really proud of them, and that's cool that they're giving this child a forever home, and awesome. But it sucks that this is the world we live in, with teachers are going out and then saying, well, you're gonna be subjected to my views because that's what I said, so yikes. And what I will give the school credit for is that a group of children went to the principal's office to say that this is what happened, this is totally not appropriate, and we're not comfortable being in this situation. And so what did the principal do? The principal got off their butt. Don't know if they were on their butt. Maybe they were standing. Maybe they were doing something else. At any rate, the principal got up, walked immediately over to the substitute teacher, took over the room, and had the substitute teacher removed from the premises, which is incredible. That is awesome for a school to stand up for children like this and to understand that something like this bigotry, does not have a place in our education system. So that's absolutely incredible. Keep that up. I'm sad that it happened, but it's good to know that there are people out there who are willing to stand up and willing to understand, look, this isn't okay. This is bigotry. This is bias. Let's not do this. So those are the news articles I have. Into just a general bit of housekeeping before I get into the final piece of news. I finally did settle on a topic for my first deep dive. I'm not going to be going into what that topic is. I originally considered doing a poll, and I think the reason I didn't do that is because I don't want to reveal my hand, if you would. I have a number of ideas that are out there in there, and I'm kind of just like, I don't know if this is something I want to put in there and have people kind of aware of what I'm doing. And not that there's a problem with people knowing what I'm doing, but I think the surprise is kind of part of what drives YouTube and drives people to come see. So they're not like, I'm going to do my own research and, like, I don't know, like, just kind of something I felt like I wanted to do. And with a few things that have been happening recently, I think the subject is very timely and it's very interesting to me, and something I've definitely learned a lot about in the past month. So I will be doing research on that starting this week. I'm going to hopefully be recording at the end of December and going into post-production then and releasing early in January. So it's exciting. I'm really, really ready for it. And then after that, I mentioned this earlier, I want to talk about Black Friday and Thanksgiving. I know for a number of people that Thanksgiving and Black Friday are not super great days. A number of people who work retail are forced to work very long hours that day for a very number of reasons, and I absolutely don't think that's okay. I don't think that working more than 8 hours in a single day without a break of some sort is acceptable. And I know that there's a lot of people who work in retail that is the reality that they work in. That's absolutely not okay. And it's something that for those companies, I try. If it's something that I know that is the case, I try not to go there. I limit my Black Friday shopping to um, online shopping from a couple of companies. I stay off Amazon for the most part. This year I did not buy anything on Amazon, which is kind of awesome. Um, and I think that's just me kind of being a little woke about it and being like hyper cognizant of the stuff happening there. But beyond that, um, any of my other purchases I do in such a way that are very easy, very quick, and they're at stores where I know. So, for example, I go to GameStop every year, and the reason I do that is because I know my local GameStop employees. Um, I do a large amount of shopping there. They know me. I used to work there. I'm friends with them, and I make it a point to get to know them. Not only because then I feel better about we're treating like they see it as I'm treating them as a person, which is super important. I think it's amazing and definite necessity when you're working in a retail world and you have people who you excuse me, have people who you're talking to who understand that, and so that's ultra important. But I think it's super important too, because then you can kind of build those relationships, and um, but the nice thing about having friends in that kind of place is they're willing to do things for you. It's not something super huge that I'm like, oh hey, you need to put this as, you need to like give me this super awesome deal. But I went in on Monday this week and I said, hey, can you put these couple things aside for me? And they were like, yeah, that's fine. We don't mind at all. It's something small like that, and it really makes a difference. Um, but so I went out to my mall, and I went out. So I did that, and then I went to Ulta, because all the stores I went to. Oh, and then Bath and Body Works, because Bath and Body Works always has a really good sale on Black Friday, and there are people there are always super nice, and it's always and I know that they treat their employees very well, from what everyone's told me there before, and so it's super important though that when you are out and you're shopping on a day like that where it's absolute crazy and absolute madhouse. Like I know the day after Christmas is usually really busy, and I don't go shopping on that day unless I have to go get like groceries or something. Again, for a variety of reasons, but the basic point is that the basic point is still there, that you need to treat those people like they are people, and when you do treat them with fairness and respect, that they are likely to do the same to you, which is important. But so stores that do tend to abuse and overwork their employees, I historically have not gone to, and I usually try to keep myself to a bit higher standard there. But the second part of this conversation is, of course, Thanksgiving. I do know a number of people this year who were not strictly boycotting Thanksgiving, but they weren't. And I understand the reason, and it's because of how the original settlers treated the native people, and I absolutely agree that is a terrible, awful thing. And maybe this is just me justifying it, and I hope it doesn't come off that way. I hope it doesn't come off as me being rude, because I hear you. I hear that I understand there are problems, and I don't disagree with them. But I think it's important too, what Thanksgiving is now, as a family holiday, as a time to see loved ones, because for a lot of people, they only get to see their family once, maybe twice a year. And I think it's important that we recognize that, and we see that as a plus side of this holiday and a plus side of this day. that, even if we were to, like collectively we need to understand that this came from problematic sources, but I think collectively we need to understand too that this is a day where many, many, many people get to see family that they don't see very often, and I think it's important to see that. In fact, there was someone I was talking to about a week ago, about a week ago actually, who was saying that they were going off to see family that they only see once a year, and I think it's important that we understand that that's a big reason for this holiday as well. And I'm not saying don't raise awareness of things, and I absolutely applaud the fact that people have been doing that. That's awesome. Please keep doing that. That's what we need. But I'd also say to that too, and I know that this isn't the case. I'd also say to that too, let's make sure that we are let's make sure too that we are. So I'm going to phrase this here in a way that's not going to upset people, but let's also make sure that we are. Sorry, it's tough for me to think of this because I'm trying. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is saying that if you do have problems with the holiday, I understand. I hear you. I totally agree that there are issues. Hi, Lana. This is Lana. That those should be raised and those should be making a point of. But I do think it's one of those things where we need to understand the good that comes out of these things too. And I don't think that these people are, these friends of mine are saying that there are no good to come out of it, and they're trying to shame people. I don't believe that's the case. I just hope that, I hope that it doesn't come out and become that for anyone. And because it is important, it is an important holiday. So I do appreciate them bringing light to the issues of how the natives were treated. The native people were treated when the European settlers originally came, and I think it's something that people need to absolutely be aware of and absolutely understand that this does come from a problematic source, and we should recognize that. Like Columbus Day, fuck Columbus Day. Terrible holiday. Not even a holiday in my mind. Terrible day. It shouldn't even be a holiday. But I think Thanksgiving, there is another layer of depth there. So, with that being said, though, that is the end of the regular scheduled part of this. I know I went a little long this week talking about a lot of different stuff. But again, I hadn't seen everyone for 2 weeks, so I kind of want to make up for it. So apologize for length of video. But to kind of go on a little bit from there, as I said, there is one more news article. Before I get into that, though, there's going to be some content warning. So for those of you who are not okay with some of this content, thank you so much for tuning in. Feel free to reach out. Leave me your thoughts in the comment section below, and let me know what you think. I think it's important that we do interact, and you can tell me things, especially on Billy D. Williams. I'm curious if you feel I am treating that situation insensitively. But yeah, so thanks for checking in. I'll see you all later. For the final news section, though, there is a content warning of extreme pedophilia and extreme, excuse me, it's somewhat graphic. I'm going to try and avoid the graphic details as much as I can, but so without further ado, we're marking this as 39 minutes and 12 seconds. In Jeffrey Epstein, who was recently found murdered in his jail cell, and no, he did not hang himself, and no, that is not a meme, that is an actual thing. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. He was killed. Anyway, so Jeffrey Epstein, it turns out, once took 3 12-year-old girls from poor families in France and flew them in as a birthday gift for himself, according to newly unearthed court documents. And it wasn't just Epstein, it was friends, it was his um, I don't know, fiance. It says gal pal. I don't know what that means to him. Uh, and coerced a number of people in France who were well under legal age to be flown in, and paid their families very large sums of money to have. And I'm not going to go into more detail than that because this is an incredibly fucked up news story. It's incredibly not okay. And something like this kind of highlights the problems of why Jeffrey Epstein being murdered is such a big deal, because he had dirt on a lot of very powerful people, and it makes you wonder, was there other people that partook in these sorts of actions that are in power today? Or were there people who effectively helped feed this addiction that are in power today? And I think the saddest part about this entire news article is that Epstein actually served time for some of these, and it was only 13 months, which is a shame. I think that's absolutely not appropriate. I think that the time should have been much longer, and I don't think Epstein should have seen the light of day, especially after discovering something like that. So it's definitely not okay. It's definitely not okay. It's very alarming that this happened, and a lot of this also was done over a business deal too, where Epstein helped fund a model agency in exchange for these young women to be brought to him. So it's very alarming. It's very concerning that things like this, happened, and it's very difficult to think about. When I link this article in the description below, I'm going to be using a bit.ly link, and I'm going to be tagging it with content warning of pedophilia and extreme graphic detail. For those of you who did stick around this long, it's not okay. It's concerning, and I don't like the fact that I have to talk about this, but I think it's important that we, as a collective, have these conversations to realize that not everyone in this world is a good person, as much as I would like that not to be the case. So, but with that being said, I'm sorry to end on such a not great note, but I hope that the next week is better. I'm going to be getting better into doing this weekly. Just, it's been a weird couple weeks for me, and my voice not feeling so great. So with that being said, I hope that everyone has a good week this upcoming week, and I will talk to all of you later. All right, bye.